You can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later God cut you down, sooner or later God cut you down. Don't tell that long-tongued liar, don't tell that midnight rider, tell the rambler and the gambler and the backbiter, tell him the God's gonna call him down, tell him the God's gonna call him down. Run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later God cut you down, sooner or later, sooner or later God cut you down, sooner or later, sooner or later God cut you down.
I think that law enforcement is while certainly they have a a legal right to stop you if you're in the curfew area, there's possibly too that they're really looking for who they're looking for, right? I mean, they're pretty targeted with this operation here as we look at the people being loaded up onto that LAPD bus.
Yeah, and we have been watching them from above and from the ground, loading up that bus. It looks like they're holding them against the wall. It seems peaceful as far as we can see from here, and then it looks like they're just going to fill that bus and transport those people, but haven't encountered a lot of resistance as far as we've seen, right?
No, not at all. I mean, it's been pretty peaceful, and I got to be honest with you. I think that the way right around 8 o'clock, the way that LAPD swarmed the area, I think caught a lot of people off guard. I mean, it was the fastest and the most high intensity amount of officers that I have seen since we've started this on Friday night. I mean, they were there like lightning, and they were there fast. They made moves fast, and the crowd, as soon as they started to show up, the crowd immediately started to scatter. And then you had a couple people hanging out right here that are now being taken into custody. And then you had the other group that started pushing away, where we saw Tom and we saw Lori.
Well, we had Mayor Bass on our air last night at 11:30. So you have to think that either overnight or this morning that they made these strategic plans for LAPD to show up the way they did earlier today, get those people off the 101 freeway right away, and knew they were going to have this curfew go into effect and how they were going to activate it or put it into action. And actually, can you pinpoint the time they started arresting people? It was after 8 o'clock.
Last night or tonight?
No, tonight.
No, tonight. Yeah. It was. I mean, technically, this group is the first group that they are being that is taken into custody. They decided that they were going to arrest that group probably around 8:20. 8:20, 8:30, and that was after that group, to be honest, didn't leave. I mean, they had the opportunity to leave. The rest of the group left, but there's always the group of people that just kind of wants to, put themselves in front of the line of officers. And in this situation, it was not been like nights past where you stand here long enough and then you can go away. Now it's you're here, you're going to go to jail.
And they have reason, because you certainly are breaking the law. This is more than a dispersal order.
Right.
This is curfew, and you're not supposed to be here, period.
And while we were on the air with Tom, he got a wireless emergency alert to his phone because he's within the area. So he got the alert on his phone. There's an LAPD helicopter that was been making announcements on the PA system as they do orbits over the crowd. So it's not that you don't know. You obviously see what's going on here. You're getting the alerts on your phone. They're making announcements on loudspeakers. Even when Lori was at that interfaith vigil, they were talking about it there as well. So people are well aware that there is a curfew.
Okay, well, we're continuing to watch this, and we'll keep an eye on it.
Well, yeah, we will keep an eye on downtown for you with SkyCal. But now let's go to Santa Ana, another SoCal city that has seen some, at times, violent protests.
The National Guard surrounding the federal building there, and today local leaders showing their support to the immigrant community. KCAL's Nicole Comstock is live in Santa Ana tonight. Nicole, a much different scene than last night. You were there last night as well.
Yeah, you guys, a lot quieter out here tonight. We've seen a lot less protesters in the street, a lot fewer people out here just adding to the scene and causing problems like we saw last night. We do still have the National Guard and some city police out here protecting the federal building tonight. And the presence of the National Guard, that's one of the things that the protesters we did see today were taking issue with. Take a look.
No, I was born here. Where am I supposed to go?
Quarreling between protesters in Santa Ana briefly hit a boiling point Tuesday, with people in the crowd screaming and shoving each other, at odds about the presence of National Guard members. Some say they're just here doing their jobs.
They cannot do anything.
I fought for the freedom of speech.
It was a far cry from the chaos that unfolded here Monday night, when a few people in the crowd threw powerful firecrackers and mortar-style fireworks directly at local police in the street. Police responded by launching tear gas and pepper spray rounds their way, slowly dispersing the crowd over several hours. The initial intention to protest federal immigration raids happening locally, overshadowed by those who came to cause trouble.
I just ask you, don't take the bait. They are trying to provoke us into making sure they paint us as being the villains, not the victims. We know we're here for our parents. We know we're here for working families and working people that are criminals.
Orange County leaders held a news conference to let the local immigrant community know they're supported and to condemn a militarized response to protests.
We're capable and we have the ability and the resources to be able to provide whatever necessary protection we have for our community.
The police chief who denounced the vandalism and violence last night said he would rather have his own police force de-escalating tensions in the community stemming from the raids. As cleanup crews work to repair the damage left behind, the National Guard continues to protect the federal building into the night, and police once again line up in riot gear for what could be another long night in the street. And we're hearing that about 11 people were arrested in Santa Ana last night. We're not seeing any of that taking place tonight, although we do hear some fireworks in the distance, so we're probably going to move and go check that out in a couple of minutes. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thanks so much, Nicole. You know, we're going to go back to Tom Waite. Nicole's, you saw that live shot. She's so quiet where she is tonight, Tom. And obviously where you are, a lot more quieter than it has been. But I see, is everyone gone where you are?
Not everyone. There are still, well, there's a lot of officers over here, and it's hard for me to tell what department they are with because it looks like a different uniform. Oh, those are federal. Okay. All right. So yeah, okay. These are federal officers who are on this. Yeah, they might be. I mean, yeah, it looks like that might be the Guard. And that is the first time I've seen them out walking and, in the field, so to speak. I mean, we've not seen them leave the steps. So I don't know if they're out here because there's something, down to the east there. Their police are moving and quickly over there. I'm not sure why.
Well, sometimes, Tom, they do play a support role for police officers if police officers are making arrests. Earlier today, apparently the Guard came out and protected the officers, formed a line around the officers while the local authorities made arrests. So I wonder if there's something like that happening again.
Okay. Yeah, that could be it, Rudabeh. What's crazy is I don't really. Oh, hey, I see a few people. There are a few stragglers there. So yeah, maybe that's why they're providing that support, Rudabeh. That could be a good point. I don't know. They look like they're running down the street now. So I don't know if police are going to charge down there after them. There's another SUV here with officers riding on the outside of it. Yeah, so that could be it. Also, there was some more, this whole area, I'm sure if, for folks just joining us, this was, a lot of people here, a crowd of people here, and, they dispersed it with great haste. And then over to our, you're looking now at our screen here. This is where officers are arresting people who would not leave initially, and they box them in here. And we're kind of waiting to see how many people they're arresting here. But you can see they have people against the wall. They're putting them, some of them in cuffs, I saw, and leading them off into the white van, the white bus over there that will then transport them. But yeah, much quieter scene here. But man, looking looking at this building, it's just covered in graffiti. So yeah, we'll let you go back, and we'll keep you posted on any new developments here.
Tom, thank you. And you know, there was discussion earlier today about the National Guard protecting local officers, but also protecting ICE agents as they made arrests in Southern California and Los Angeles, which was an expansion of their duties.
Correct.
They had been brought here just to protect federal.
He's not a star. I would be jealous too. I was born a star. Look how light up I am every time I come in a room.
ICE agents as they made those arrests.
And you wonder if that had anything to do with the conversation with maybe the Trump administration, since he's the one that federalized those officers, the Guard in particular, as far as their duties. And I think there has to be something that is agreed upon as to their exact role, and for them to actually come out in the community. So maybe that's what's happening there. But thank goodness we haven't heard about any instances where there has been a real show of force or where they've had to use force.
Okay, we want to take a look at what happened in Chicago and New York, because these protests aren't just limited to Los Angeles. Tonight, protesters went out onto the streets over ICE raids taking place. This is New York, where police have stopped people from getting close to a federal building. Arrests were made there, and people were tossing water on officers. Also in Chicago, police clashed with protesters and arrests were made. People also tagging vehicles there.
Well, just hours ago, Governor Newsom made a virtual address in which he did not hold back his thoughts on President Trump.
Trump is pulling a military dragnet all across Los Angeles, well beyond his stated intent to just go after violent and serious criminals. His agents are arresting dishwashers, gardeners, day laborers, and seamstresses. That's just weakness masquerading as strength.
He hammered President Trump for taking hold of the National Guard and sending more troops into the region, saying it made the situation worse. Newsom said California may be the first for this, but he claims it won't be the last. Now, we have reached out to the White House for comment, but have not heard back. And we continue our breaking news tonight in the Inland Empire. Believe it or not, an evacuation order was in effect just south of Apple Valley tonight as fire crews work to get the upper hand on the ranch fire. Being evacuated tonight, the area from Milpas Drive to High Road south of Highway 18. So far, 2,000 acres have burned.
And more breaking news tonight in Burbank. Evacuation notices and warnings have been lifted there after a brush fire broke out in the hills above Burbank. Forward progress of the Bethany fire has been stopped at 8 acres. Fire crews will continue to monitor the area through the night. No word tonight on what sparked the flames.
All right, we're going to go back to our, well, we will in just a minute, but first we do have some important things to talk about. It was a warm day here in Southern California, but a nice day.
Check in with Danny in our next weather. Danny, it's so good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you girls too. My goodness. Hi, Rudabeh. Hi, Pat. Yeah, we had the sunshine today, and we're going to see much the same going into tomorrow. So let's get you ready for your Wednesday. Here's a look at our temperatures today, you guys. Yes, it was all about the heat out there. I mean, it was a warm day here in Southern California. 104 degrees in Lancaster, San Bernardino, lower 90s, Burbank, 82, downtown LA, 81, and Newport Beach, 68 degrees. I mean, a crazy difference between our beach communities in the upper 60s and Lancaster at 104 whopping degrees.
Now, it was partly cloudy and 68, wind calm. At Covington, it was partly cloudy and 68, wind calm. At Monroe, it was mostly cloudy, the temperature was 68. Elsewhere around the region, at Athens, it was clear and 67, wind calm. At Gainesville, it was partly cloudy and 69, wind calm. At Macon, it was partly cloudy and 75, wind north at 5. At Columbus, it was partly cloudy and 75, wind west at 6. At Birmingham, it was partly cloudy and 71, wind east at 3. At Rome, it was clear and 66, wind calm. At Chattanooga, it was clear and 68, wind northwest at 3. At Asheville, it was partly cloudy and 64, wind calm. At Augusta, it was partly cloudy and 69, wind east at 3.
Absolutely, and they were warned They were warned. They were given plenty of time. They knew that this was a curfew. And again, you know, it's already what time? 9:21. So it's an hour and 21 minutes past the curfew, and they still refuse to leave. So at this point, the officers will keep walking toward the group that is still standing and eventually push them out of the area that they have been positioned at and protesting. But you're right.
And
their
you see
message was
a bit of
peaceful protest, but the curfew is in place.
Right, you see a bit of a standoff right there. So you've got the line of police, and then in front of them, those protesters that are not moving. Of course, one of them has an upside-down American flag, and that is a tell on how their point of view is. Yeah, their point of view about police and about the government in general. So it will be interesting to see.
That is a much smaller group.
A much smaller group, but still an illegal one.
100%. Yes.
So we're
what I'm saying is at this point, it is what the officers are doing is working because the larger group has left. Now you've just got, I don't know exactly how many, but perhaps, you know, 5 to 10 that are just standing there. Earlier, there must have been at least 100. And that was just about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes ago. Be careful.
Oh. So once they see all of those police officers, it is a cooling effect. And they, the smart ones anyway, move on. Okay, we also have an aerial view, too, that we're looking at that shows that there are some demonstrators or also people in downtown LA. They're on the move. So not the area where you are, where we see a little bit of that standoff of, you suggest that there could be fewer than a dozen people there, but regardless, they're not supposed to be there. The mayor was quite clear, so was the chief of police. And all of this, of course, is to gain control on what has been happening in the downtown area for the last 5 nights. And the mayor was pretty specific, and the chief of police. Once all that looting took place overnight, that was the line in the sand. But Gina, the good news is last night in Santa Ana, you experienced pepper balls or some kind of tear gas, and tonight, nothing like that. They haven't used that kind of tactic, the LAPD.
No, they have not. Obviously, in Santa Ana, there was a much larger group, and that specific group that we witnessed, they were taunting the officers, and it was getting out of control, so they were repeatedly firing pepper balls, and we were not close to where the officers were. We were a few blocks away, and we could still smell it, and it just was incredibly powerful.
And effective, because ultimately Orange County sheriffs as well as Santa Ana police got control of that crowd and made numerous arrests. So that is most likely
and there will be numerous arrests tonight as well.
Yeah. So the
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the mounted units are there now too, and they're very effective because those animals are so big. It's hard to push back when you have a big animal, and one that, by the way, everyone loves. Everybody loves those horses.
Yes. Yeah, they do, and they are beautiful, and it, as you said, it does work. This curfew, of course, the reason I overheard some people here, some of the protesters saying that it is, in their words, BS and it's not right and they have a right to protest. But the reason, we've seen some of the destruction, and the mayor wanted to clarify and make sure, people across the country think that it's all over Los Angeles. It is just a very small area of Los Angeles where this is happening. And that's why the curfew area is between the 110 freeways. And it's just a specific area. But when you walk around here, Susan, and you look at the buildings, many of them beautiful buildings, they've all been tagged. They all have horrific wording, awful attacks on police officers and ICE agents. And it's it doesn't look good, you know, and I'm sure it's hurtful for many in law enforcement.
Indeed. And for residents of Los Angeles and Southern California who love this city, love the beauty of the city, it's all been tagged, as you say, and marked up with things that should not be on your TV. But unfortunately, it becomes a part of our coverage because it's just so prevalent.
Yeah, it's impossible. When we pan over from one side to another, you'll see the F word, you'll see vulgarities, and it's impossible for us to cover it. It's just all over the place, you know, but when we talk about, and I think we just got something on air right now, you know, there are so many businesses that have been affected by the looting, by the vandalism, and many of these stores, we're talking about a total of $1 million losses. So enough is enough is what essentially these officials said during the conference this evening. 23 businesses were affected.
And it's interesting, Gina. Laura Diaz pointed out that she went to a different part of what is now the curfew zone, and she said those people were out and about enjoying the evening and didn't even know that not very far away or several blocks away there was this kind of chaos, that there was the kind of chaos that she experienced not far from where you are now in Little Tokyo. So it's just so interesting, and I asked a retired policeman what he thought about the size of the curfew zone, the fact that it would impact so many different people, residents and businesses. I mean, imagine, I talked to a business owner tonight who said where his restaurants are, he's one of the owners of Level 8, which is not far from Crypto.com. He said, we're shut down. Everything, even before they announced the curfew, everything was canceled. All the people that were scheduled to come to his establishment, they canceled. And then I talked to one of his staffers who said, yeah, I'm just shutting everything down because no one's going to be there. Of course no one's going to be there now because of the curfew. And that's despite that the fact that there could be people not very far from where you are now, say 5-6 blocks away, who are not aware that this kind of thing is happening. But so many businesses are going to be affected regardless of whether they were impacted by the bad actors, the looters last night. So many other businesses as well, they're hurting because of the fact that people don't want to come downtown.
No, I mean, who wants to come downtown when you've got this kind of situation going? And you know, there's obviously the fear of getting hurt, getting caught in the middle of some of the skirmishes. It's just, you know, not a good thing that's happening. It's been now the 5th day of this, and that is why they decided that this curfew has to be in place. And the mayor made it very clear, so did the chief, that they will arrest individuals who break the law, and they will be prosecuted.
Absolutely. In fact, in one screen, we're looking at the buses, those big white buses that will come in. They are emblazoned with LAPD, but they are brought in specifically to move the detainees for processing. So right now we're seeing one that's basically in front of the federal building. And then in the larger screen, you're looking at Gina's shot at first in Los Angeles, so that's a part of Little Tokyo. And then we have another live shot from Skyfox that shows the fact that there are people still in the downtown area, still in the curfew zone, but they are on the move. So that might help them for a little bit until the skirmish lines perhaps get a little closer to where they are and forces them to either be arrested or, you know, again, they might be on the move because they're trying to get out of the location, but they had 90 minutes to figure that out. And have you heard any kind of public announcement, Gina, at all from police telling them about the curfew?
Yes, throughout the night they've been announcing it. There's a curfew, you need to leave. And
If you've got an old roof that you've been thinking about replacing or you know it needs to be replaced soon, Roofing World is one of the top roofing contractors in the state. And right now, this month, we can get you a brand new, beautiful roof that comes with a warranty, whether it's metal, shingle, or tile, for $0 down. So that's nothing up front and starting at just $89 a month, guys, $89 a month. If you're interested, if you'd like more info, click below. It's going to take you to a page with 1 or 2 quick questions. Answer those, and then we will text you over more information. Again, if you live anywhere here in the state right now this month, we can get you a brand new, beautiful roof for $0 down and starting at just $89 a month. If you're interested, click below.
As they merge, so it is just, what is it, a quarter mile?
The mayor says a mile, 1 square mile. But when you consider where you are right now and where the federal building is and where the Metropolitan Detention Center or Roybal is, that's like 3 blocks. Am I wrong? It's pretty close.
Yes. Yes, it's a very small area.
It's just sort of interesting that, I mean, I should point out Little Tokyo is on the corner. A lot of people have been at like First and Alameda in the course of it. That's because it's like half a block or a block away from the MDC, from the Metropolitan Detention Center, and where all the National Guard has been around that garage, where we saw actually Saturday night, Sunday night, the agents that were at the gate or the garage made sure that the protesters that came anywhere close, and they were able to get close because that building is tagged too, but made sure that they knew that the message was, no, you're not making entry. You're not getting closer, any closer to a federal building. Okay, we're still watching.
We saw the line of officers by the federal building there.
Yeah, we're watching.
I was saying we were at the federal building earlier, and yes, we were at the federal building. We saw all of the officers that were there making sure that no one crossed the line there. And really, there weren't any protesters in that area. We saw a couple of homeless people who are allowed to be in the area if they live here. So that's about it. It was pretty peaceful there. When we got to this location, we saw at least, I don't know, 100 people or so that were hanging out, and again they were walking back and forth saying peaceful protest, and you know, they kept walking in front of the officers, and nobody was doing anything until just when we went live, when they started moving the crowd out of the area, because it is the curfew area that we're talking about. Now, earlier, as we reported, I mean, people try to take over the 101 freeway, so it can get out of control fast if they don't take immediate action.
Yeah, well, you experienced that last night in Santa Ana, so in Orange County, far, far away from all of this action, as we watch as some of the detainees are being led away, and they will be loaded onto one of those buses, those white LAPD buses, to be processed for staying in the curfew zone past the point of the start of the curfew. Gina, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for your reporting for us in Little Tokyo. We're going to turn now to Attorney Mary.
So, we wanted you to watch at least a little bit of their live reporting from the ground there. That was Gina Silva, who was reporting down there as we are just about ready to wrap up our live coverage for the evening. A live look in downtown LA. This is what we do here. We work with live feeds. We work with our Fox television station partners like Fox 11 Los Angeles. Looks like we see a steady stream of LAPD vehicles moving through this intersection. You've seen a number of people being detained tonight. Looks like this is on Temple. So a lot of this has been happening in this area. It really has stuck in, and this is what LA Mayor Karen Bass said today, is that the majority of the protests that they had seen by this afternoon had all taken place pretty much on 5 streets within downtown LA. Before we wrap up for the evening, one more final look at Skyfox's vantage point. There are still small pockets of protesters, it appears, but police have not been joking around. They have been arresting people. We've seen a number of people being detained and then loaded onto buses for processing afterward. So this is something that we will continue to cover tomorrow. Our Orlando-based newsroom comes back on the air tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm Austin Westfall. If you want to keep up with some of these live images, you can go to Fox 11 Los Angeles' newscast, foxla.com. It's where you can see some of their coverage. In a second here, I'm going to toss it to a commercial break. On the other side of that, you will see our overnight playlist. The overnight playlist begins, if you want to watch it back, it begins with what Governor Gavin Newsom has been saying. He, in fact, uploaded a 8-minute-long speech to his social media accounts earlier, talking mostly to President Trump and speaking about some of the actions that ICE has been, and some of the raids that we've seen from ICE in Newsom's state in recent days. This is a good size of protesters, by the way, a good size of people marching down the street right next to the Alexandria Hotel. So the message tonight is anybody who's on the streets of the curfew zone in downtown Los Angeles will be arrested. They say if there's any violence, those people will be arrested. Police have been making arrests, but clearly, as I alluded to, there are still several pockets of protesters sprinkled around downtown Los Angeles. There are certain zones that the police do appear to have under control. And I will say this before I sign off for the night. Tonight, although we are looking at live images of people marching down the streets of downtown LA, in light of the curfew, it does appear, at least for now, that things are much quieter at this time tonight than they have been in recent nights. Again, what police said is that there were 23 instances of businesses being looted last night. That was what caused them to implement this curfew. There were at least 197 arrests today. Now, they gave us that 197 number earlier this afternoon. We've seen on camera tonight lots of arrests being made. So presumably sometime tomorrow we will get an update on the amount of protesters that have been arrested today alone. It is about 9:40 Pacific time right now. As I said, it's time for us to go.
Cobb, DeKalb, Douglas, Fayette, Forsyth, Fulton, Gwinnett, Henry, Newton, Rockdale, and Walton. Visit our website at weather.gov/Atlanta for the latest weather information, including watches and warnings. You can also like your Peachtree City National Weather Service on Facebook or follow NWS Atlanta on Twitter. The current time is 12:41 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Here are the midnight
traffic,
weather
and you've got some of those
observations around the
bicyclists there that are also holding traffic while their convoy of protesters moves through.
And, you know, we talk about why this curfew went into effect in the first place and some of the unrest we saw last night, including a car being set on fire. 22 businesses were vandalized last night, according to Mayor Bass in her press conference today. Graffiti everywhere. There are a lot of pictures we can't even show, even though we're doing our best not to show profanity and graffiti, but it's unavoidable in some places.
And at least, she said, at least $1 million in damage, and that was graffiti alone. That's just incredible.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it really is a lot. We're going to take a break here, and I almost thought that was a law enforcement vehicle. No, that's someone with the flag. Now, the other question, how do you stop motorists under curfew?
Right, and yeah, I mean, they could detain each one of them, tow the cars if they so chose, but it makes it harder when they're in cars because they can certainly get out of there a lot quicker.
Okay, well, we'll be right back. We're going to keep watching this, and we'll continue our coverage in a few minutes.
It was clear and 67, wind calm. At Gainesville, it was partly cloudy and 69, wind calm. At Macon, it was partly cloudy and 75, wind north at 5. At Columbus, it was partly cloudy and 75, wind west at 6. At Birmingham, it was partly cloudy and 71, wind east at 3. At Rome, it was clear and 66, wind calm. At Chattanooga, it was clear and 68, wind northwest at 3. At Asheville, it was partly cloudy and 64, wind calm. At Augusta, it was partly cloudy and 69, wind east at 3. At St. Simon's Island, with rain and fog, it was 70, wind calm. Here is the official forecast from your National Weather Service for the Atlanta listening area. Tonight, partly cloudy, then becoming mostly clear after midnight, then becoming partly cloudy. Areas of fog after midnight. Lows in the mid-60s. Light west winds this evening, becoming light and variable. Wednesday, mostly sunny. A slight chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon.
Stop using the link sticker. Instagram stories with a link sticker on average receive 40% less views.
need you to step back. Press, step back. Not specifically.
No, I understand. Back, sir, please. Thank you.
If I'm gonna need a shot, I can always move, okay? Right here, sir. All right, guys, let's get ready to load up and jump in our car. Oh, I know. I know what I'm doing. Trust me, I'm trying to get you as close as we can, but they have to be. No,
Giving them more than 10 feet, though, so that's what's the Supreme Court ruling. So
Hey, watch your back, O'Day. What? All right, guys, we're gonna mount up. Is that everybody?
My income has grown more than 100% while being with eToro. As a beginner investor, it has been a great experience.
Hey man, do you still have that round? Pull up that far. Where are you at now?
Covington, it was cloudy and 68, wind calm. At Monroe, with fog, the temperature was 66. Elsewhere around the region, at Athens, it was partly cloudy and 67, wind calm. At Gainesville, it was clear and 69, wind calm. At Macon, it was partly cloudy and 73, wind north at 5. At Columbus, it was partly cloudy and 74, wind west at 6. At Birmingham, it was partly cloudy and 70, wind east at 3. At Rome, it was clear and 64, wind calm.
Streets, you could face arrest, and I know that over in Tom's location, he has seen dozens of people arrest. We certainly have seen, the LAPD, that big white bus pass by us, so we knew that they were starting to stage and get into a position where they could make arrests and start loading people up to take them away. So we're just kind of in a little bit of a waiting game right now, waiting situation at this point, waiting to see if that group doesn't indeed come in our direction.
Yeah, we do see some traffic in the area still moving through, Lori, and SkyCal is also showing us a group of officers on a corner, kind of peeking around the corner there, and also a long line of cruisers as well. Mike, any idea what might be happening there?
Well, you've got CHP that is certainly mobilizing. This is also an interesting group of people just sitting in the back of the truck there. I don't know what they're exactly up to here, but yeah, you've got CHP mobilizing. We are just listening to something, and we're going to try to move the helicopter over there, but about potentially an injured officer. We don't know how that happened, but it appears to be somewhere in the area of downtown, so we're working on gathering a few more details with that. And Kelly, I want to ask if we can put my computer in an inset box here, because I want to show you exactly the area under the curfew. So this is basically all of downtown LA, even extended over into kind of the Lincoln Heights area a little bit, and then up into Chinatown. All of that is under a curfew. And we talked about this earlier, but the Walt Disney Concert Hall, LA Phil, canceled their concert tonight. There was another adaptation of Hamlet that was canceled tonight at another theater in downtown LA because of this curfew. So you have the people that are still down there, it's still not necessarily wanting to go along with the program here, but everywhere inside of that red is within the curfew that started at 8 o'clock tonight, 2 hours and 6 minutes ago at this point. Now, I did ask the mayor's office for an exact copy of the order, of the curfew order, as well as the local emergency order that will give us a lot of clarity on exactly the specificities of who is allowed and who is not. Generally speaking, though, it is people that have legitimate business in the area, which would be anybody that lives there, as we look at a field force of CHP officers there on the sidewalk and a lot of cop cars there by CHP. But anybody that lives in the area, anybody that is going to and from work in the area, credentialed members of the press would be allowed, and that should be about it. So, that's what they're, who they're looking for. Is anybody else that doesn't fit that bill is subject to arrest, as we have seen, as you're looking at Pershing Square there on the top of the screen. But basically what's been kind of going on is law enforcement has now basically gotten a hold of the groups that were stationary. They've dealt with them, and now we're playing this kind of cat and mouse game where we're moving in these
with
groups
the taggers and the agitators that are still out there, right?
And they're continuing to just kind of move up and down the streets of LA, of downtown LA, and law enforcement is trying to reposition to be in place with them. They've got an LAPD helicopter overhead that is trying to deal with it as well. And eventually, as we've seen night after night after night, whether or not it happens right away or it takes some time, eventually protesters make just the wrong move. They're able to get kettled by law enforcement, or what law enforcement has also been doing, and I've been listening to them talk on the radio, is every time you push the group, they start to splinter, right? And the groups get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then eventually they either dissipate or they're small enough to just kind of deal with them as they are. But so far, I mean, yes, we have had people that are non-compliant with what they are supposed to be doing, but we've not seen, this is the Walt Disney Concert Hall you're looking at on the left right there, we have not seen necessarily violence. I saw one firework. We've seen tagging.
Very different from yesterday,
yeah,
right?
But nothing's on fire tonight. The group is smaller tonight, so we'll see.
Based on what you just said too, Mike, if you had plans tomorrow to go to the Broad or the Japanese American Museum, the Walt Disney Concert Hall, Susie, or the Museum of Contemporary Art, may be a good idea to change plans, because still this area is going to be very busy with protesters tomorrow.
Absolutely. The activity obviously expected to continue for days to come here, and the LAPD definitely ready for that. And we were talking about this area, Mike, the 1 square mile that is under this curfew tonight in downtown LA, the entire downtown LA area under a curfew tonight. But really, I think
I'm sorry, Suze, really quick.
Please.
This is the injured officer. So they just pulled him out of the back of that patrol car, You see him kind of, putting his weight on his two officers around him. So maybe a leg injury or something that is preventing him from, from fully walking on his own. But you've got some unmarked units here that are probably just going to load him up. I mean, County General's not that far, so they'll probably run him over to the hospital. But he looks like he's conscious and alert, just, limping or not able to walk on his own
Could have
power.
twisted an ankle or something, just walking around with his comrades there.
Well, and I want to point out that when these platoons move into different positions, they always run, right? So even if there is a need to run or not, that's just how they deploy. They run,
right.
And so it's very easy to trip over something or lose your footing or something.
Pothole,
like that. Yeah, right.
all sorts.
I mean, these officers had been here, tirelessly trying to work to keep the peace in downtown LA. And as soon as his curfew went up, the LAPD showed up in downtown LA by the masses. I mean, we saw so many patrol cars out there, still out there tonight, making sure that these protesters clear the area. Just after that order went out at 8 o'clock, the curfew is in effect, again, from 8 o'clock tonight until 6 o'clock in the morning. And as soon as that happened, we saw the LAPD come in with their lights and sirens at times, trying to clear people out. But as we've been talking about, there are protesters still who have decided to remain in downtown LA, defying these curfew orders. And what you're watching here, we believe, is an officer who was injured in all of this. We don't know how and to what extent, but we do believe he is okay, as we saw him standing not too long ago, as Mike mentioned, putting his weight on two other officers as he was being loaded into the back of this SUV and presumably being taken to the hospital right now.
Yeah, but it's clear to say most of the protesters we saw earlier today have gone home. It's only a small group that still remain there in downtown Los Angeles defying this 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew.
Right, and that was at First and Grand where that officer was taken from. It looks like, this may be a fire station here that they're pulling up to. So they may just be, going to get checked out at the fire station and, kind of have those medics just take a look at him. And if he needs to go to the hospital, he will. But, it's probably easier for them to come to the fire station than it is for the fire department to try to get out in that mess and deal with all of that.
Let us know if you hear anything, Mike.
Yeah, we'll do.
All right, thanks.
Protests against these ICE raids continue also today in Orange County. Another round of clashes in Santa Ana. A flashpoint to the immigration protests, of course, the National Guard.
KCAL's Nicole Comstock live for us in Santa Ana. What does it look like out there for us, Nicole?
Well, for the most part, you guys, it's been a much more quiet and calm day here in Santa Ana. But now that it's nighttime out here, we do have quite a big gathering of people here at Bristol and McFadden. You can see that they're kind of just standing in the center of the street there. They have taken over parts of the parking lot for the gas station here, too, and the stores in this surrounding area. And, mostly what we see is just people gathered with flags out here with signs. Some fireworks, of course, you can hear those signs just expressing their frustrations with President Trump and his ICE raids. People are driving by honking out here. Again, we are hearing some of those mortar-style fireworks going off and then some of the firecrackers as well. But what we are not seeing at this location right now is we're not seeing police on the ground. We were actually at the Federal Building about an hour ago, and we also didn't see many National Guard members there anymore either, so we're not certain if they moved to another location in Santa Ana, most of them, or if those National Guard members maybe went to another location. But for now, you can see these protesters kind of marching up the street here, and we're going to show you a bit of the scene that played out across the city today. Take a look. Quarreling between protesters in Santa Ana briefly hit a boiling point Tuesday, with people in the crowd screaming and shoving each other, at odds about the presence of National Guard members. Some say they're just here doing their jobs.
They cannot do anything.
I fought for the freedom of speech.
It was a far cry from the chaos that unfolded here Monday night, when a few people in the crowd threw powerful firecrackers and mortar-style fireworks directly at local police in the street. Police responded by launching tear gas and pepper spray rounds their way, slowly dispersing the crowd over several hours. The initial intention to protest federal immigration raids happening locally, overshadowed by those who came to cause trouble.
I just ask you, don't take the bait. They are trying to provoke us into making sure they paint us as being the villains, not the victims. We know we're here for our parents. We know we're here for working families and working people that aren't criminals.
Orange County leaders held a news conference to let the local immigrant community know they're supported and to condemn a militarized response to protests.
We're capable and we have the ability and the resources to be able to provide whatever necessary protection we have for our community.
The police chief who denounced the vandalism and violence last night said he would rather have his own police force de-escalating tensions in the community stemming from the raids. As cleanup crews work to repair the damage left behind, the National Guard continues to protect the federal building into the night, and police once again line up in riot gear for what could be another long night in the street. So it is looking like we might have another long night in the street out here. For the most part, what we're seeing in the crowd right now is a lot of really young people out here, again, just holding up their flags, driving by with flags hanging out of the windows of their cars. They just want people to honk for them for the most part and just show the community's support for the immigrant families here, many of whom just say they're really terrified that they'll have their families ripped apart. What we haven't seen tonight is any vandalism so far. You know, last night we were seeing a lot of graffiti on buildings and small businesses, maybe some broken out windows in the city at a different protest, but we haven't seen any of that tonight. So it seems like people are really staying on message out here and listening to the words of city leaders today, of Orange County leaders who told people, you know, don't use violent tactics out here. It's not helping our cause. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right. Nicole Comstock live tonight in Santa Ana. Thank you so much. Well, meantime, immigration activity continuing across Southern California. This is actually new video of what happened today in a field in Oxnard. And tonight, we are actually speaking to the woman who shot this video.
Leslie Maring joining us now. Leslie, you spoke with the witness and the organization that says people have been swept up by ICE at a Southland car wash?
Yeah, and you know, we know that all this has been prompted by immigration and ICE arrests that have ramped up across Southern California since Friday. The Trump administration says the ICE arrests will continue for at least 30 days, and tonight people tell us they fear to go out because of immigration sweeps taking place.
This was a scene in Oxnard Tuesday morning. Federal officers seen chasing a man through an agricultural field. Mia captured it all on video.
He wasn't able to tell them anything. They just got him right there, right then.
She says the man was driving down Laguna Road when a Border Patrol vehicle attempted to stop him.
There was 2 Border Patrol trucks behind him, and they didn't have their lights on or anything. But then all of a sudden, within 5 seconds, they turned on their lights and they started chasing him.
She says the driver attempted to drive off, but quickly pulled over, taking off into the fields. Mia was originally going to pick up her sister from work, who she says is undocumented.
Our community is very scared. Everyone is just scared that they're going to be arrested for no reason.
The FBI confirmed they did help ICE with immigration enforcement in Ventura County today, but didn't offer details about the arrests. On Tuesday night, Governor Gavin Newsom addressing what he called mass deportations by the Trump administration.
Indiscriminately targeting hardworking immigrant families, regardless of their roots or risk.
Currently, we know that a half a dozen car washes have been visited by what we believe is at this moment.
So far, Rodriguez says the organization has identified 16 of the workers detained. She says 2 were sent to detention centers in Texas.
The reason why we know they're there is because we've been able to use that locator system, not because the workers have been able to contact family or an attorney.
2 workers have contacted family, but only after she claims they were already deported.
Their families are heartbroken. Their families, their children are wondering why they weren't home to put them to bed from the moment they went missing.
And we are expected to hear from some of those families tomorrow during a press conference. Now, federal officials continue to say they are detaining and arresting people with criminal history. We did reach out to DHS to get more information on the immigration arrests in Ventura and these car washes, but we are still waiting to hear back. Susie One.
All right, Leslie, thank you so much. Want to go to a continuing breaking news coverage here in downtown Los Angeles.
Mike Roger is at the desk now with this update for us, Mike.
Yeah, so here's an interesting kind of turn of events here. So this apartment building that you see right in the center of your screen here, the group of protesters that was being essentially shooed down the street by LAPD officers, then ran into the apartment building. So the Los Angeles Police Department is now trying to get to the higher floors of this building because they say that the protesters ran in it. So you've got both sides that are blocked off by law enforcement. You see the helicopter there from the LAPD that is circling with its night sun on. And a moment ago, we saw a group of officers enter the parking garage there at the ground level and kind of move through. So that's where this is at right now. And just adding another complicating factor to this, now that you've got a building involved here where this group has now potentially run inside of it. And we'll see the chopper going to push in here to a second, where you'll see that group of officers basically formed kind of a skirmish line right there in front of the parking garage entrance, where they believed that they saw the suspects, or the group of protesters rather, run into the building. So they had talked about figuring out logistically, do we want to go search this whole building? What are we going to do here, and how are we going to handle this?
Well, hopefully somebody who lives there will let officers know where they went. Mike, I know several people who live downtown. These buildings are really secure. You can't just walk in. You need to be buzzed in. So for somebody to just make their way into this building without any invitation or without a door just being left open, it's kind of
right,
crazy,
unless they live
right?
there, right? Unless one of the people who were in that group lived there, actually, but who knows?
Yeah, and I did see, briefly when LAPD was getting there, so they went into the left side, in the entrance of the garage on the left side, and then a group of them did pop out on the right side of the building. So I don't know how many of them remain inside of the building, enough that the LAPD helicopter was trying to sort out, whether or not they want to go floor by floor and conduct that kind of search. I would assume that would be a very daunting task. It's a big building, and yeah. So we'll see. I mean, for now, they're kind of just standing out here while they figure out their game plan and figure out how exactly they want to handle this.
All right, keep us posted on this, Mike. Thank you so much. And more breaking news tonight, this time in the Inland Empire. An evacuation order in effect just south of Apple Valley tonight as fire crews work to get the upper hand on the ranch fire. Evacuation orders tonight, the area from Milpas Drive to High Road south of Highway 18. And so far, more than 4,000 acres have burned.
And Leslie, closer us here. Evacuation notices and warnings have been lifted in Burbank tonight after a brush fire broke out in the hills above Burbank. Forward progress of the Bethany fire has been stopped at 8 acres. That's some great news there. Fire crews will continue to monitor the area throughout the night. No word yet on what sparked the flames. All right, time now for next weather.
Yeah, we've been dealing with June gloom in the morning, but these beautiful temperatures in the afternoon, Danny.
I know. And today was one of those days. I mean, we saw the sunshine out there, and I know for some folks, as we're seeing these fires popping up, we have been dealing with elevated fire danger. That's been the case for our inland communities. I mean, look at these temperatures. Lancaster, 104, San Bernardino, 93, Burbank, 82 degrees. And with that, a little bit of wind that's been picking up as well. So an elevated risk for these grass fires that we're seeing. Downtown Los Angeles, low 80s, upper 60s in Newport Beach. And because of that marine layer, we've been seeing this crazy difference between our beaches and our inland communities. So going into tomorrow, the June gloom is back, you guys. We're waking up to mostly cloudy skies, 70s by 11 o'clock, low 80s by the time we get to the afternoon. And then valleys peaking in the lower 90s, mid 90s in the IE. So tomorrow is another toasty day, above average, 102 in the high deserts, but some cooling by the end of the week. We'll talk cooling and another warm up for Father's Day weekend. That's coming up in your next weather.
All right, Danny, thank you so much.
All right, back down to ground shots there. Downtown Los Angeles, as an overnight curfew is in effect right now till 6 a.m. This all started at 8 p.m. tonight. And right around 8 p.m., Susie, we did see those LAPD units move in through the area near the Federal Building and quickly cleared out a large group of protesters that had been there for most of the afternoon.
We're going to have more coverage on this after a short break. Stay with us.